A millionaire calls to fire the maid, but her son answers and reveals a shocking truth. When Nathan Cole picked up the phone, he had a single intention: end the call quickly and shut down what he saw as an unacceptable breach of professionalism. Winter wind swept across the windows of the 41st floor, and the glow of Chicago at night reflected off his tense expression. At 34, the CEO of Cole Dynamics was no stranger to hard, cold decisions. His penthouse on the 58th floor, the highest in the tower, was immaculate, silent, and lonely enough to echo. In that world, order was sacred. Mistakes were not. For 3 days, Elena Morales had simply vanished. No message, no explanation, not even a brief apology. To Nathan, it wasn't just irresponsible, it was disrespectful. He tightened his grip on the phone, preparing the firm, clipped speech he'd rehearsed all afternoon. But the moment the call connected, everything inside him paused. "Mister, please don't hang up." It was a child's voice, thin, shaking, carrying a kind of fear that made Nathan straighten in his chair. He glanced down at the screen again. Yes, it was Elena's number. "Who are you? Where's your mom?" Nathan asked, and even he could hear the stiffness in his voice beginning to crack. "I'm Liam. My mom. She won't get up. I keep calling her, but she won't open her eyes. And she has blood on her mouth. I tried to wipe it, but it keeps coming back." Nathan felt something twist sharply in his chest. He pictured a 6-year-old alone in a cramped apartment, trying to clean the blood off his mother's lips instead of screaming for help. The image felt wrong, so deeply wrong it made his skin prickle. "Liam, listen to me. Is your mom still breathing?" Nathan's voice dropped, tense, the worry cutting through each word. I think she is, but she's breathing weird, like she's choking or something. I'm scared." Nathan no longer felt the floor beneath him. His body moved before his mind caught up, as if some long-buried instinct had snapped awake. When his coffee mug slipped from his hand and shattered on the stone tiles, he didn't even look down. "Liam, I need you to give me your address. Right now." The boy choked on a breath, then recited the address with surprising clarity. Numbers and street names Elena must have drilled into him in case the worst ever happened. A worn-down apartment complex on the west side, far from downtown, a place Nathan had never had a reason to visit. "You did great," Nathan said as he hurried out of his office. "I'm coming to you. Don't leave your mom's side. But please don't hang up. I'm scared." "I'm not hanging up," Nathan said, his voice steadier than he felt. He rushed through the hallway, into the elevator, and out to the parking garage, keeping the phone pressed to his ear. The Chicago night wind was freezing, but the tremor in his hands had nothing to do with the cold. As his car sped out of the garage, Liam's broken breaths filled the cabin, faint but constant. And as the old shadowed buildings of West Side rose into view, Nathan realized something with startling clarity. The call he meant to make to fire someone had just pulled him into a story he was nowhere near ready for. When Nathan's car turned onto Knox Avenue, the glow of the city behind him felt like a different universe. The narrow road was pitted with potholes, lined with aging brick buildings stacked tightly together as if they had been forgotten for decades. Street lights flickered, and some had gone completely dark, leaving patches of shadow across the pavement. Nathan slowed down, scanning the alleys littered with crumpled paper and broken crates, sensing that if he let go of the wheel even for a moment, this place might swallow him whole. Liam's shaky voice still echoed through the car speaker, each breath catching as if it might break. "Are you almost here? I see the building now. Just stay by your mom, okay?" I put my hand on her chest to see if she's breathing, but I don't know if I'm doing it right. Those words made Nathan grip the steering wheel so hard his knuckles turned white. A 6-year-old child should never have to learn how to check whether his mother is alive. He parked by the curb, shut the door, and jogged toward the entrance. The building's front door, its paint peeling, hinges rusted, creaked open with a groan that echoed down the narrow hallway. Inside, the air was thick with the smell of damp walls, old frying oil, and stale paint. Nathan held his breath as he walked deeper in. Apartment 3 sat at the very end, next to a window patched with cardboard. Before Nathan could knock, the door opened almost instantly, as if the boy had been standing right behind it, listening for his steps. Liam was smaller than Nathan expected, a thin, pale boy with messy black hair, big brown eyes swollen from crying, and a Super Mario t-shirt that hung off his shoulders. His bare feet were dusty from the cold tile floor. "Mr. Nathan?" he whispered, voice hoarse. "That's right, buddy." Nathan knelt to meet his eyes. "Where's your mom?" Liam grasped his hand and pulled him inside. The apartment was a single room, barely enough space for a worn-out mattress on the floor, a folding table, and an old electric stove. No decorations, no clutter, just the desperate attempt to keep things tidy despite having nothing. On the wall hung a few crayon drawings, a smiling sun, a tiny house, and 2 stick figures holding hands. Nathan didn't need to ask who drew them. Elena lay on the mattress, her head tilted to the side. Her skin was almost as pale as the dim yellow light in the room, and beneath her head was a towel stained with dried blood. Nathan knelt next to her. Her breathing was shallow and wet, each inhale rattling like her lungs were filling with something they shouldn't. Her collar was damp with cold sweat. "Mister, is my mom gonna be okay?" Liam's voice faltered behind him. Nathan placed 2 fingers on Elena's neck, searching for a pulse. He didn't have advanced medical training, but he'd taken enough first aid courses to know that this faint rhythm was the last thread holding her body together. But what struck him hardest wasn't Elena's condition. It was the way Liam was watching him, clinging to him with terrified hope, as if Nathan were the only steady thing left in a collapsing world. "You did great, Liam," he said softly. "Let me take it from here." The distant wail of sirens began rising outside, slicing through the quiet of the block. Nathan stood, scanning the small apartment again. Everything was modest, painfully modest, and the reality of it pressed into his chest like a weight, anger at himself for never imagining how Elena lived, for assuming her absence was just an inconvenience. Liam tightened his grip on Nathan's hand, as though letting go might make everything fall apart. And when the flashing red and blue lights spilled into the dim hallway, Nathan understood with startling clarity. He had stepped into a world he'd never belonged to, yet he already knew he couldn't turn away from it. St. Mary Memorial glowed under harsh neon lights, its crowded hallways feeling like a parallel universe Nathan had never stepped into. He was used to private clinics with soft lighting, leather chairs, and quiet waiting rooms. But here, everything pulsed with exhaustion, faces drawn tight, muffled cries echoing down corridors, nurses and doctors rushing past as if time were always slipping through their fingers. Outside, Chicago was still loud and glittering, but inside this building was a different city entirely, one inhabited by people the world rarely saw. Liam clutched Nathan's hand as they wheeled Elena into the emergency room. The boy nearly dragged him along, his tiny legs trembling. When the doors slammed shut between them and the woman fighting for every breath, Liam yanked Nathan's sleeve with desperate force. "Mister, they won't let me in. I have to be with my mom." Nathan knelt so their eyes met. "Your mom needs the doctors right now. They'll work faster if we stay outside. I'm right here with you. I'm not going anywhere." Liam swallowed hard and nodded, but his gaze stayed glued to the closed doors as if afraid they might swallow his mother whole. They sat on cold plastic chairs, and for the first time Nathan understood that poverty wasn't just in peeling walls or flickering lights. It was in the way Liam curled into himself, wrapping his arms around his knees like he was trying to keep his small world from collapsing. Almost an hour later, a doctor approached. His eyes were ringed with fatigue, but his voice was steady. "Are you a relative of Ms. Morales?" Nathan hesitated. "I'm her employer." The moment the words left his mouth, he hated how empty they sounded. The doctor nodded, then crouched to look at Liam. "Your mom is being taken care of, but she's very sick. She's severely malnourished, critically anemic, dehydrated, and we suspect advanced pulmonary tuberculosis." Liam's eyes widened, and Nathan felt the boy tremble beside him. Nathan's throat tightened. "Tuberculosis?" "Yes, and judging from her condition, she may have been fighting this for months, maybe years." The doctor paused before continuing. "We also found signs of repeated plasma donation, likely to earn money." The words hit Nathan like a blow. He felt the air leave his chest. Elena, the quiet, polite woman who always arrived early and left before he returned, had been selling her blood to support her son. Meanwhile, he lived in a penthouse stocked with gourmet food and wine, never once wondering if she was okay. His success suddenly felt small, shamefully small. "Doctor," Nathan said, voice low but firm, "whatever she needs, I'll cover it, all of it, until she's well again." Liam turned to him, eyes glossy, filled with a fragile spark of hope. While waiting for updates, Nathan took Liam to the cafeteria. The boy chose a small sandwich and a carton of milk, and Nathan watched the way he ate. Tiny bites, slow, almost careful. When a crumb fell, Liam immediately picked it up and ate it, as if losing even a speck of food was unacceptable. "Were you very hungry?" Nathan asked gently. Liam hesitated. "Yeah, but I didn't want to eat at home. Mom always saved food for me, so I saved mine for her." Nathan felt something tighten painfully in his chest. A 6-year-old skipping meals so his mother could eat. And he, who thought of himself as a responsible, successful man, had never noticed anything beyond his own comfort. He rested a hand on the boy's back, an unintentional gesture, but the truest one he'd made in years. "You don't have to save anything anymore, Liam," Nathan murmured. "From now on, I'll take care of both of you." And as he watched Liam continue to eat in those small, careful bites, habits born from scarcity, Nathan knew his life had opened onto a path filled with responsibility, tenderness, and a kind of love he never saw coming. When the hospital clock neared midnight, a nurse approached and gently explained that children weren't allowed to stay overnight in the emergency ward. Liam's hand tightened around Nathan's, his small fingers trembling. One look at the boy's teary eyes was enough for Nathan to know he couldn't send him back to the cold, dim apartment on Knox Avenue. The place seemed to breathe fear into every wall. "You're coming home with me tonight," Nathan said softly, the words slipping out like they had been waiting inside him. Liam nodded, trying to be brave, but as they walked down the hallway, he turned back for one last glance at the door where his mother lay, as if afraid the sight of her might disappear if he blinked. The SUV cut through Chicago's winter streets, yellow city lights stretching across the windshield. Liam sat in the back seat, hugging his worn backpack, and each time they passed under a brighter street lamp, his eyes lifted, curious, yet cautious. When they stepped into Nathan's building, Liam stopped completely. The lobby, with its high ceilings, crystal chandeliers, and polished marble floors, glowed like a scene straight out of the movies. He moved closer to Nathan, staring around as if he had wandered into another world. "Wow, this place looks like something on TV," he whispered. "You okay?" Nathan asked. "Yes, but do you really live here, all by yourself?" The question landed with unexpected weight. Nathan opened his mouth to say yes, but something tightened in his throat. There was something in Liam's tone, innocent, unfiltered, that made Nathan suddenly aware that the silence in his penthouse wasn't peaceful. It was hollow. A void he had grown so accustomed to that he no longer noticed it swallowing him whole. The elevator carried them to the 58th floor. When the doors slid open, Liam froze once again. The penthouse was bright, vast, and painfully pristine. Gleaming hardwood floors, large abstract paintings, Italian furniture aligned perfectly, and a wall of glass offering a sweeping view of the glittering city below. But there was nothing for a child. No toys, no storybooks, no splash of color. Just expensive things arranged neatly in the quiet. "Your house is really big," Liam said softly, tugging Nathan's sleeve. "But it feels a little sad." Nathan had never heard anyone describe his home that way. He stood still, unsure how to answer. "Maybe," Liam added carefully, "maybe it's sad because you've been alone too long." The words were light, almost playful, yet they hit the softest part of Nathan, the part he thought had turned to stone. He prepared the guest room, trying his best to make it feel warm rather than sterile. He added extra pillows, closed the curtains, dimmed the lights. Liam climbed onto the bed, his legs dangling over the edge, eyes darting around like he wasn't sure he was allowed to be there. "If the bed's too big and it makes you scared," Liam murmured, "could you put more pillows around me?" Nathan nodded and built a small nest of pillows. When Liam smiled, a tiny, gentle smile, Nathan felt his chest tighten as if something inside was thawing. "Mr. Nathan," Liam said as he adjusted himself in the nest of pillows, "do you ever get lonely living here?" Nathan paused. He glanced around the room, then back at the little boy curled in the middle of the giant bed. "Maybe," he admitted, "but I got used to it." "You don't have to get used to it anymore. I'm here now." Nathan wasn't prepared for that. The words hit him with a quiet warmth, soft as the glow of the bedside lamp. He didn't trust himself to speak, so he simply turned off the light and stood in the doorway, watching Liam settle into sleep. That night, for the first time in years, Nathan walked into his living room and realized the penthouse wasn't completely silent anymore. And somehow, that small shift made his chest feel strangely light. In just 1 week, Nathan's penthouse, once filled with nothing but the hum of the air vents and the sterile scent of wealth, began to breathe differently. Every morning he walked out of his bedroom and found crayon drawings stuck to the refrigerator. A lopsided sun, a crooked house, stick figures with wobbly smiles. Strange enough, not only did he leave them there, he paused each time to look at them, as if they were the most precious decorations he'd ever owned. Toys began to appear in corners where cold perfection once lived. A tiny toy car resting beside the Italian sofa, a couple of comic books lying open on the coffee table. They didn't match the aesthetic of the apartment at all, but somehow they made it feel more like a home than any of his designer pieces ever had. Nathan rearranged his work schedule, something he had always believed impossible. He left the office earlier to make sure he was home for dinner. Sitting across from Liam, listening to the boy talk about school or simple things like, "I learned to draw a 5-point star today," Nathan realized he was learning a skill he never possessed: how to talk to a child. "You know what, Mr. Nathan? I saw a little dog today. It kept licking my hand." Nathan laughed, an honest laugh he hadn't heard from himself in years. "Sounds like it really liked you." Mornings slowed down too. Instead of checking emails the moment he woke, Nathan stood with Liam in the kitchen, laying out toast, pouring milk. He found himself learning how to spread peanut butter without smearing it over the edge. Such a tiny thing, but Liam's delighted grin made it feel like an accomplishment. At night, Nathan sat at the edge of Liam's bed, reading stories aloud. The sound of his own voice echoing softly in the dark room felt unfamiliar, almost foreign. It had been so long since he'd done something not for productivity, not out of duty, but simply because it made someone feel safe. One evening, after closing the door once Liam fell asleep, Nathan paused in the hallway. The penthouse no longer felt silent, no longer empty. no longer foreign. He realized he had finally experienced something he didn't know he'd been longing for, the feeling of coming home and having someone waiting for him. A week passed in a quiet rhythm so gentle that Nathan sometimes didn't recognize the life he was living anymore. But that peace cracked open on a Friday afternoon, just as he and Liam were piecing together a puzzle on the living room floor. "Mr. Cole," the lobby receptionist said, voice tense, "there's a man insisting on coming up to see his son. He says his name is Derek Barnes." The moment the name hit the air, Liam froze as if struck. The puzzle piece slipped from his hand. His lower lip trembled. "Nathan," Liam whispered, voice breaking. "Please don't let him take me. Please, I don't want to see him." Nathan had never heard Liam beg like that. The fear in the boy's voice wasn't ordinary. It was the kind carved from memories that hurt too deeply. Nathan gripped Liam's shoulder gently, steadying his own breathing. "You're not going anywhere. I promised you, and your mom wants you here." "But how did he know I'm here?" Liam choked out. Nathan paused, then the answer clicked sharply. "Derek must have gotten the information from Elena's hospital records. The emergency contact listed him. A drunk man always finds a way to worm into trouble. I'll talk to him. You stay in your room. Lock the door." Liam hugged Nathan tightly for one shaky second before darting to the guest room. Nathan heard the soft turn of the lock, like the boy was trying to lock out every fear he'd ever known. Nathan inhaled deeply, then headed downstairs. The lobby was quiet except for the sight of a man slumped against the reception desk. Derek Barnes. His jacket was wrinkled and stained, his hair greasy, his expression a mix of arrogance and resentment. When he spotted Nathan, he grinned, a crooked, mocking smile. "Well, well, the fancy landlord," he slurred. "I came to talk about my son." Nathan kept his distance. "Liam doesn't want to see you." Derek let out a raspy, humorless laugh. "The kid doesn't know what he wants, but I know what I want. I want him back. Or—" His eyes scanned the lavish lobby. "Or you can make things easier. Pay a little something so I don't make noise. Courts don't like hearing stories about a rich bachelor keeping another man's kid." Nathan's jaw tightened. "You're drunk, and you abandoned Liam. You have no claim." Derek stepped closer, breath reeking of alcohol. "Claim? I'm his biological father. That means I have a price." Rage spiked down Nathan's spine, but he held steady. Liam didn't need him losing control. "You're not getting a cent," Nathan said coldly. "And you're not getting near him again?" Derek opened his mouth to shout, but a firm female voice cut through the air behind Nathan. "Mr. Barnes," the woman said as she stepped forward, moving with the calm precision of someone who had walked into far worse situations than this. "I'm Jasmine Carter with Child Protective Services. We need to talk." Derek spun around, stumbling slightly. His eyes flicked to her badge, and for the first time since arriving, something like hesitation crossed his expression. "You've got to be kidding me," he blurted. "My kid is being held in this building. I came to take him home." Jasmine didn't flinch. "We've received multiple reports of domestic violence involving you, and considering Ms. Morales' current condition at the hospital, the evidence is heavily stacked against you." Derek's jaw twitched. He shot Nathan a glare, desperate for someone to drag into his chaos. "He's hiding my son," Derek said, voice cracking into a slur. "I'll sue him. I'll sue this whole damn building." Jasmine turned toward Nathan with a look that combined compassion and authority. "Mr. Cole, may we speak privately?" Nathan nodded. He walked with her to a quieter corner of the lobby, his anger simmering beneath the surface, yet kept firmly in check. She spoke gently but directly. "I need to understand whether you're helping Liam because the situation forced you to, or because you're considering something more permanent." The question hit Nathan harder than he expected. Permanent. What exactly does that mean? If Elena agrees, Jasmine explained, you can apply for temporary guardianship. And if her recovery takes time, or if the court determines Mr. Barnes is unsafe, his parental rights could be revoked entirely. At that point, you could seek permanent guardianship or adoption. The words guardianship, permanent, adoption felt like someone turning on a light in a room Nathan had kept locked for years. He looked toward the elevator, imagining Liam upstairs, sitting on the floor outside the guest room door, waiting for him, shaking from the fear of a past that refused to stay buried. So, Nathan said quietly, if I wanted to protect him for real, I could, Jasmine nodded. Not only could you, I believe Liam needs someone exactly like you. The sentence landed straight in Nathan's chest, scary, overwhelming, but warmer than anything he'd felt in years. He thanked her, stepped into the elevator, and rode up to the 58th floor with his heart beating like it was trying to keep up with a new reality. He didn't just want Liam safe for tonight. He wanted him safe. Always. When the elevator doors opened, Nathan saw Liam sitting right outside the penthouse door, knees pulled to his chest, face buried in his sleeves. The second he heard footsteps, he ran toward Nathan and wrapped his arms around him. You didn't leave, right? Liam's voice cracked. Nathan held him tight. No, I just went downstairs to talk. I told you, I always come back. He took Liam out to the balcony where Chicago stretched beneath them like a sea of golden lights. Liam leaned against him, slowly relaxing, breathing in sync with him as the cold wind brushed past. After a moment, Liam whispered the question Nathan had been expecting and dreading. Are you going to send me back to him? No, Nathan answered instantly. Whatever happens, I will never do that. You're safe here, I promise. Liam looked up, eyes glistening with something fragile but hopeful. Then, can I stay with you forever? That word, forever, hit Nathan like a gentle blow to the chest. He looked at the city, then at the small boy clinging to him like he was the only stable thing left in the world. A week ago, his penthouse was just a glass box, a place to sleep, a monument to success. But maybe what he truly wanted had been missing all along. Nathan placed a hand on Liam's shoulder and tightened his hold. If you want to stay, then I want that too. Liam's breath hitched like he was fighting back tears of relief. I want to stay, he whispered. With you. Nathan pulled him closer, the cold wind brushing over them, and for the first time in years he felt something solid and real settle inside him. Then I promise, Liam, he said quietly, I'll protect you, I'll take care of you, and I won't ever let you be scared alone again. Under the bright Chicago sky, that promise became one of the truest things he had ever spoken. Nathan returned to the hospital on a quiet afternoon, sunlight pouring through the tall glass windows and painting the hallway floor in a soft golden shade. The familiar scent of disinfectant mingled with the rhythmic beeping of heart monitors. He paused outside Elena's room for a moment, inhaled deeply, then gently pushed the door open. Elena was sitting up in bed, still pale but far more alert than before. When she saw Nathan, she gave a faint smile, one filled with emotions words couldn't fully express. Mr. Cole, she whispered, her voice rough from days of weakness. Liam, is he okay? Nathan pulled a chair close and sat beside her. He's okay. He's safe. And he misses you a lot. Elena's eyes glistened instantly, as if relief itself was too heavy to hold. Thank God, she murmured. Nathan clasped his hands for a moment, steadying himself before speaking the truth he had rehearsed 100 times in his mind. Elena, I'm here because I need to tell you something important, something I want to say with complete honesty. She looked at him, waiting. Liam has changed my life, Nathan said quietly, the emotion in his voice unmistakable. I never thought I could love someone like that, but he did something to me. Elena lifted a hand to her mouth to keep a sob from spilling out. I want to adopt Liam, he continued, every word firm. I want to give him the future he deserves. The education, the safety, the opportunities he should have always had. A tear slid down Elena's cheek, then another. She covered her face with her hands, shoulders trembling. It took several seconds before she could speak. I prayed for this, she sobbed. I prayed that someone kind, someone good, would see my boy and love him. I know my illness is serious. I know someday I might not be here. Nathan lowered his gaze, heart tightening. The thing I fear most, Elena whispered, is not dying, but wondering what will happen to my son if I'm gone. Who will hold him when he's scared? Who will protect him? Nathan didn't hesitate. His response came straight from his chest. I will. I promise. Elena's breath caught. But I don't want to disappear from his life. I don't want him to grow up thinking his real mother abandoned him. Nathan shook his head immediately. Never. Elena, you are Liam's mother. No one can replace that. If you agree, we'll be a family. The three of us. I'll help you get back on your feet. Find a better job, a safe place to live, whatever you need. Liam needs you, and I want him to have you. Elena's face crumpled into tears and a trembling smile. For a long moment, she simply looked at Nathan as if realizing her quiet prayers had been answered in a way she never dared hope for. Finally, she nodded. If you truly want this, then I agree. Nathan exhaled, a deep, releasing breath, as though the entire world had just lifted off his shoulders. Outside the window, Chicago glowed under the evening sun, and for the first time, the future of these three lives, a once lonely man, an exhausted mother, and a child yearning for love, began to shine bright. In the weeks after the conversation at the hospital, Nathan's life grew busy in a way he had never experienced before. Not with tense meetings or million-dollar deals, but with fighting for the future of a 6-year-old boy. He hired the best family law firm in Chicago, attorneys who were not only skilled, but seasoned in handling custody battles against men like Derek. From the first day, the lawyers began gathering every piece of evidence. Elena's hospital records, detailing severe malnutrition, anemia, exhaustion, and signs of long-term lung infection. The DCS reports, hard, factual accounts of abuse and neglect. Elena's own testimony, shaky but firm, as she described the nights Derek arrived drunk, shouting, breaking things, and the night he almost hurt Liam. And then there was Derek's behavior, which hardly needed investigation. He showed up repeatedly at Nathan's building, drunk, yelling, cursing at the front desk staff when they refused to let him up. Each time, police escorted him away, and every incident was documented, each one making his case worse. He's destroying himself faster than we can keep up, the lead attorney told Nathan during one meeting. Honestly, I've never seen someone tank their chances this quickly. But even with overwhelming evidence, the legal process dragged. For 3 long months, Nathan balanced caring for Liam with attending hearings, interviews, and evaluations. Every time he saw Liam hugging Elena in the hospital or running into his arms at home, Nathan remembered why he was fighting. The final court date arrived on a crisp autumn morning. The courtroom was so quiet, Nathan could hear his own heartbeat. Elena sat in the back row, hands clasped tightly, and Derek sat opposite them, tired, hollow-eyed, as if already anticipating defeat. The judge read the decision slowly, deliberately, but when the final sentence landed, the world seemed to split open with light. The court grants full legal guardianship of the minor child Liam Morales to Mr. Nathan Cole. Nathan closed his eyes for a long moment. Elena burst into tears. Derek slammed his hand on the table, swearing, and officers dragged him out. But all the noise faded beneath one feeling, an overwhelming, almost dizzying relief. That evening, the three of them sat in the penthouse kitchen, celebrating with a small dinner. Spaghetti, Liam's favorite. Elena was growing stronger every day, and Liam laughed more, talked more, as if the darkness shadowing his life had finally lifted. While Nathan was rinsing dishes, Liam tugged at his sleeve. "Nathan," he bent down. "Yeah, buddy?" Liam hesitated, then smiled, small, shy, but shining. "Can I call you Dad now?" Nathan felt his heart fold in on itself and open all at once. He pulled Liam into a tight embrace. "Yeah," he said, voice thick. "Yeah, you can." The little boy hugged him even tighter and whispered, "I love you, Dad." In that moment, Nathan understood that every tear, every hearing, every sleepless night of the past 3 months had been worth it. Nathan's life changed in ways he never could have predicted. The once quiet penthouse, cold as a museum, was now filled with laughter, the patter of small footsteps echoing down the hallway, and crayon drawings taped to the refrigerator like tiny flags marking a new territory of happiness. He reduced his work hours, delegated more to his management team, and for the first time in his life, he found himself looking forward to the end of the workday, not for rest, but to make it home in time for dinner with his son. He attended every school event, the science fair, the fall play, even parent-teacher conferences he once thought had nothing to do with him. But each time Liam ran into his arms afterward, Nathan understood those moments were worth more than any deal he'd ever closed. Elena recovered steadily with months of treatment. When she grew strong enough, she moved to an apartment near Nathan's to stay close to Liam. But it was Liam who held her hand one afternoon and asked, "Mom, why can't you just stay with us?" And so, with everyone's blessing, Elena moved in. Their small, unusual family took shape in the most natural way. 3 people who didn't need permission to stay in one another's lives. One evening, while Nathan helped Liam cut out planets for a homework assignment, Liam held up his drawing of Saturn and said softly, "When I grow up, I want to be like you, someone who helps people when they need it the most." Nathan froze. That simple sentence, so innocent, so sincere, shone a light into the deepest corners of his life, the ones he once filled with work and achievements to keep loneliness away. Now he understood something simple and profound. True wealth wasn't in his bank account, but in the people he loved and protected. That night, after the bedtime story ended, Nathan stood in the doorway, watching Liam curled beneath his blanket, breathing softly, like a whisper of peace. Elena moved quietly in the kitchen, warm light painting her silhouette against the cabinets. No longer a guest, but a part of the home itself. Nathan rested his hand on the doorframe, his heart full in a way he'd never known. He whispered into the gentle stillness, "Thank you for a second chance." And perhaps the universe smiled, knowing he finally understood a truth worth keeping for life. The greatest blessings often arrive disguised as crises we never asked for.